Hi, I'm Steve from Pragmasis. We're the manufacturer of the Protector range of high security chains. This is a brief video introducing our Noose chains that we offer on the Protector 11mm, 13mm and 16mm chains. Our normal non-Noose Protector chains, like this 13mm, this is a short 13mm chain, are normally locked end to end by interlocking the end links and fitting the padlock onto a single link. This means you're normally forming a single loop around the items you wish to lock up. That's fine, but it can get inefficient in terms of chain length if your item is separated from the point that you're anchoring it to, since you effectively have a double run of chain, kind of going out to the item and then back to the anchor. The Noose option gives more versatility, as it allows you to cinch one end of the chain, a bit like some dog collars, so you effectively tether the chain around an anchoring point and can then run a single thickness of chain to the item to be secured. So this is a very short 13mm Noose chain. So if I interlock the majority of the chain through the special end link, you can see I'm forming a small loop that could be perhaps around a lamppost or something like that, and then I've got a single thickness of chain here which is moving off to the item that I'm going to be securing, my motorbike or my bicycle or whatever. So this is just an example with a short 13mm. We offer the Noose chain in 11mm and 16mm sizes as well. I mentioned that this is a short Noose chain, but it can be very useful when you're using something like a D-lock to secure the other end, this end of the chain. So if I grab one of our DIB 130 D-locks and open it, you tether the chain using the noose to some piece of street furniture, and then you lock the other end of the chain to the side of the frame on the bike. So that might be going through the swing arm or through part of the frame, maybe if it's a trellis frame on the bike. Then we tether the free end of the chain and lock it around part of the frame of the bike. Sometimes you can do it through a cutout in the swing arm on several bikes, or maybe around a spoke on a wheel. This is a popular option for people with scooters where there is no accessible frame. Now note that the 13mm chain is not officially tough enough for motorbike security. A thief that is big enough with the big 42-inch bolt croppers may be able to cut it. But we think it's one of those things, if you need something that's portable, your options are very limited. And I would argue that a 13mm chain around a lamppost, sort of in here, so there's your lamppost, and then you've got a length of chain going off to the side of your motorbike, and locking it to the frame of the bike is a lot more secure than just a disc lock or a chain looped around nothing but the bike. Now we also offer the Noose option in our Protector 16mm chain, so that can give much higher security, but it is heavier and more bulky, so you have to make your own choice if portability is important. Normally Noose chains come into their own when you might otherwise need a 4 metre long conventional chain, for instance. Maybe a 2.5 metre Noose chain could get the same job done with much less weight and less cost. Now this is the Protector 16mm Noose chain. It has this special end link, and you can see that we've looped the chain around to form a lollipop, if you want to call it that, a small loop which we can tighten by just pulling the chain through. Note that in the case of this chain, as with the others really, we're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pretty much 6 links. So on a 16mm chain, that's 0.6 of a metre of chain to form this loop. And we're only going around a relatively small lamppost or something like that. These links could be stretched out a little bit, but not much. So the minimum amount of chain you're going to use to form a loop with a Noose chain is something like 4 links, more realistically perhaps 6 links. Obviously depending on the size of the thing you're going to go around. Now at the other end of the chain, basically we've just got a pile. This is a 16mm 2.5 metre Noose chain. We've got a pile of just chain links here, and this is the other end. So we can actually form another loop at the non-Noose end by interlocking this link through one of its predecessors. So through this link here, for instance. So in order to do this with a normal chain, you'd have to cut a slit in the sleeve, we've obviously got an unsleeved chain here, so we can illustrate the point. So you'd cut a slit in the sleeve with a knife or a pair of scissors, maybe seal it with a soldering iron if you want to stop it fraying, and then loop the end link of the chain through that point, through the slit in the sleeve, and then you'd lock it with whichever padlock you're using with this chain. Now that is creating another lollipop, another loop, but it's at a fixed point in the chain because you've had to cut the sleeve. And it needs a padlock or a D-lock at that point to close the loop. Now we're back with the Protector 13mm noose chain, and again I've got it in a noose here, so that could be tied around a lamppost or something like that. Now another option for closing the non-noose end of the chain, rather than cutting a slit through the sleeve, can be to use a D-lock. And if I grab one, then I can loop the D-lock over the end link of the chain and over the body of the chain and lock it in position. So now I've effectively created another cinch, another opportunity for tightening a loop around an item. This time it's at the supposed non-noose end of the chain. It is important to be wary that any cinched loop can be loosened by a thief, either like this, or if you're using this D-lock trick, like this, obviously if the length of chain allows that to be done, and a thief might then be able to steal the bike. So you need to make a careful choice where you use the cinch or where you use both cinches to avoid the chain being released. The footbed on a scooter is an example where there might be a risk if you have a long noose chain cinched around a lamppost and make a second cinch around the footbed on the bike. In a case like this, it can be better to cut the sleeve and lock to a specific link in the chain so the second cinch can't be loosened. The risk being if the second cinch could be loosened enough, you might be able to lift the chain up over the seat of the scooter and then release the bike. Now we're back to the 13mm noose chain again. We've got a noose formed, perhaps around a lamppost, something like that. We've got some straight chain and we're tethering it with a D-lock onto the side of a scooter or something like that. Now this noose is effectively an overhead, and as I mentioned before, you could use up 5 links, 6 links of chain quite easily to form that. And this is why we have minimum lengths on our noose chain options. We can sell conventional chain really down to much shorter lengths, but normally we wouldn't sell a 16mm noose chain shorter than maybe 2 metres, or a 13mm or 11mm noose chain shorter than 1.2 metres. This happens to be a 1.5 13mm chain. There can be special circumstances where a very short noose chain might have an advantage over simply using a non-noose chain and simply making a simple loop around everything. But it is important that you're aware of the practicality of folding the chain back on itself, particularly if you want to make a very tight loop, as it may not work with the bigger chains. Now we can offer noose chains up to 6 metres long, where the noose really offers a major advantage in terms of weight, usability and cost. That was a quick intro to the noose option that we offer in our Protector 11mm, 13mm and 16mm chains. There are more videos detailing the chains and giving tips on how to use them, and there is a lot more information and dimensions and so on our website. I hope that's been useful, and thanks for watching.